Today, we're diving into what might be one of the most high-stakes economic decisions of our time. It's a choice that could ripple across the entire global economy, and it's being made almost completely in the dark. Let's get right into it.
So that really is the question, isn't it? This is what the U.S. Federal Reserve is up against. Imagine you're trying to land a 747 during a hurricane, only right at the critical moment your entire instrument panel just goes blank. That's the situation. It's a trillion-dollar guess, and pretty much everyone is holding their breath.
All right, so mark your calendars for December 9th and 10th. That's when the Fed's big meeting happens, where they'll decide what to do with interest rates. But this is not just another boring committee meeting. Because they're working with almost no data, this is the moment of truth. This is when they have to make their guess.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal, we have to start with the core problem. The people making this call, they are flying completely and utterly blind.
And you better believe the political heat is on. I mean, listen to this. A bipartisan group of senators put out a statement basically warning the Fed that if they get this wrong because of the missing data, the outcome could be, and I'm quoting here, disastrous. No pressure, right?
So what's causing all this? Why are they flying blind? Well, a government shutdown has created a total data blackout. The September jobs report is late, and the October reports for both jobs and inflation just canceled. Now, these aren't just any old numbers. These are the big ones. The two main dials the Fed watches to do its job, keeping prices stable and people employed. Without them, they're basically just going on gut feeling.
As if flying blind wasn't hard enough, this decision isn't happening in a nice, quiet, stable world. Oh no. While the Fed's dashboard is dark, the rest of the globe is basically turning on the financial fire hoses. We're talking about a global flood of cash that makes the Fed's job infinitely more complicated.
And it starts right here at home. There's serious talk in Washington about sending out $2,000 stimulus checks to every household. Now, we don't know if this will actually happen, but just the possibility of it throws a massive wrench into all the Fed's calculations.
But that's nothing compared to what's happening across the Pacific. Check out this number, $1.4 trillion. That's with a T. That's the size of a massive new spending package China just unleashed to prop up its economy. It's a colossal amount of money being injected into the system. But even that pales in comparison when you zoom all the way out. $137 trillion. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the total amount of money sloshing around the global financial system right now, and it is an all-time record high. There has never been this much cash in the world.
So when you put it all together, you see the picture. The U.S. just stopped its program of pulling money out of the economy. China's spending like crazy. Japan's got a huge plan. Canada is literally firing up the money printer again. All told, there have been over 320 interest rate cuts by central banks around the world in just 2 years. The bottom line is, the whole world is in what you could call mega stimulus mode.
Now, with all that cash flooding the system, you'd think the Fed's decision would be easy, right? Just raise rates to fight off inflation. Well, it's not that simple. Not even close. In fact, right inside the Federal Reserve, a huge debate is raging.
You basically got two camps. On one side are the hawks. They look at inflation, which has been too high for almost 5 years, and they're saying this is the #1 enemy. We cannot let it get permanently entrenched. But on the other side, you've got the doves. They're arguing, hold on, you're fighting yesterday's war. Look at housing costs. Things are already slowing down. If we keep rates this high, we're going to crash the job market for no good reason.
And look, this isn't just some academic squabble. This fight matters because it reflects the fact that the Fed is caught between a rock and a hard place. There's a very real, two-sided risk to the entire economy. It's a classic catch-22.
And this right here is the economic nightmare they're trying to avoid: stagflation. It's the absolute worst of both worlds. The economy grinds to a halt, people lose their jobs, but the prices you pay for groceries, for gas, for everything, they just keep going up. It's the trap that can ruin economies for a generation.
So who's right, the hawks or the doves? Well, don't ask the markets because they have no clue either. This chart shows what professional traders are betting will happen. And look at that. It's basically a coin flip. A little over half are betting the Fed does nothing, but a huge 43% are betting they'll cut rates. If that doesn't scream nobody knows anything, I don't know what does.
So given this complete uncertainty, where do we go from here? Well, at the end of the day, the Fed has to make a choice. And depending on which way they guess, it could send the economy and your money down one of two very different paths.
JP Morgan actually laid out these two futures pretty clearly. Path number 1 is what they call recessionary easing. That's the oops, we were too late scenario. The Fed cuts rates, but only because the economy is already tanking. If that happens, you typically want to be in safer assets, like gold or government bonds. Path number 2 is the goal, non-recessionary easing. This is where the Fed cuts rates like an insurance policy just in time to prevent a recession. In that world, riskier things like stocks tend to do really, really well.
Which brings us right back to the beginning. The whole situation is a massive paradox. The world is pumping a historic amount of cash into the system, but the pilot of the U.S. economy can't see any of its instruments. So the trillion-dollar question is, can they somehow, against all odds, stick that perfect soft landing? Or is this blind guess about to fly us all straight into an economic storm?